When basketball referee Cyril Birge refereed the legendary Milan-Muncie Central game in the 1954 state tournament at Butler Fieldhouse, it began a close personal relationship between the Jasper referee and Bobby Plump and the state champion Milan Indians. Over the years, the 54 champions would invite Birge and fellow final game referee Marvin Todd and their wives to join them when they held reunions to celebrate the Milan Miracle. When he refereed the 1954 state tourney, Cyril Birge was no stranger to Butler Fieldhouse and the Indiana State basketball tournament. 20 years earlier, as a high school senior, he led the Jasper Wildcats into the then Sweet 16 state tournament at Butler Fieldhouse. Birge earned all-state honors as the Wildcats won their first two games in the tournament to reach the Final Four before losing to eventual state champion Logansport in the semifinals. In 1995, Cyril Birge was inducted into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Although he was far better known throughout the Hoosier State for the 34 years he refereed high school basketball games and the 29 years he refereed college games, 9 years in the Big Ten Conference, Birge's induction into the Hall of Fame was based on his play as a high school player at Jasper High School. 2004 marked the 50th anniversary of Milan's victory over Muncie Central, and the two schools celebrated with a reunion luncheon in Muncie, followed by a regular season game between the Indians and Bearcats, which was televised on ESPN. Cyril Birge played a key role in that reunion. He was asked to speak at the luncheon, along with a number of other notable speakers, including Bobby Plump and ESPN reporter and anchor Gary Miller. A granddaughter held a flashlight to illuminate his script as he captivated the capacity crowd.
If Goliath had killed David, there would have been nothing in the Bible about that story. And if Indiana had class basketball back in 1954, we would not be here today. But Indiana does have basketball today, and since it does have basketball, I can say there will never be another Miracle of Milan. And it is my proud pleasure to have been a small part in that wonderful historical day. Thank you very much.
After speaking at the banquet, Cyril was swamped by the media for interviews and photos, including this one with ESPN's Gary Miller.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we start tonight's game, we would like to introduce to all of you one of the two officials who officiated that famous game in 1954.
That evening in the big Muncie Central Fieldhouse, 50 years after doing the same thing at Butler Fieldhouse, Cyril Birge tossed up the ceremonial first ball to start the Milan-Muncie Central game.
Asking him to go to the big show to officiate the final game of the 54 state championship. Cy was under the basket when the final shot was made, and little did he know the impact that game would have on his life. Cy officiated for over 32 years and has been inducted into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Cy Birge.
As the game progressed, Cyril was interviewed as part of ESPN's live coverage.
Cy, as we look back to the game in 1954, why is it so strong today in the emotions of people 50 years later?
Well, it just grew and grew. We knew at the time, and both of our was working our third tournament, we knew at the time a small school would beat a big school. Well, that's not too unusual, but in the state final it was.
Cyril Birge passed away on October 2, 2008. His obituary was carried in newspapers across the country. In the lead paragraph it stated, Cyril Birge, who refereed the legendary 1954 Indiana State Championship basketball game between Milan and Muncie Central, on which the movie Hoosiers is based, passed away Thursday at the age of 93. He was then, and always will be, linked to the Miracle of Milan.